Okay, I'd like to welcome everybody to the April 11th, 2023 ETAC meeting. I'm Carl Benninger, Vice Chair in place of Commissioner Germain, our chairperson. So recording secretary, is the meeting being recorded?
Yes.
Very good. I'd like to call this meeting of ETAC together, April 11th on 2023. And I'd like to call it to order at 4:02 p.m. We have 6 items on the agenda, including consent calendar. Recording secretary, please take roll call and advise if there are any commissioners requesting to participate by phone.
We had a potential possibility, but she did not confirm. So there is no one wanting to invoke just cause. I'll go ahead and take roll. Vice Chair Benninger.
Here.
Chair Germain has requested an excused absence. Commissioner Greensides.
Here.
Commissioner McLaughlin is not online. Is that correct? Okay. She might be in absence. Commissioner Romero.
Here.
Commissioner Welker.
Here.
Chair, you have a quorum.
You didn't say Commissioner Alvaro, is he?
Commissioner Alvarado had indicated that he would be leaving early, and there he is.
There he is, just in time.
He will be needing to leave a bit early for a conflict on his schedule.
Very good, thank you. Commissioner Welker, would you please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
He resigned.
Place your right hand over your heart. Ready, begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty for all. Thank you. Recording secretary, please describe the way the public can address this committee.
This meeting is being live streamed on the City of Santa Ana portal at www.santa-ana.primegov.com/public/portal. If anyone would like to provide a public comment, they may do so in person or call in to area code 714-647-5022. The opportunity to speak is going to follow the next comment in a few moments. If you wish to speak by audio, please call in to 714-647-5022 and advise that you would like to speak. You will be placed in a holding queue, and you will be called upon by the name and number that you entered. If any members of the public are present at this in-person meeting, and I don't believe that I see any, please be sure you have completed a speaker card and hand the speaker card to me. You will have 3 minutes to speak. We will alert you when your time is up.
Recording secretary, do we have anyone want to make public comment on agendized or non-agenda items?
No one is on the phone or in person. Thank you. We can proceed.
All right, we're going to move on to consent calendar. We have one commissioner asking for excused absence. And that's the only one, correct?
Chair Germain has specifically asked for an excused absence. Yes.
Okay. Is there a motion and second to approve the consent calendars, item 1 through 4?
Commissioner Greensides, I'll make the motion.
Is there a second on the motion?
Commissioner Welker, I'll second the motion.
I'll repeat. Commissioner Greensides has made a motion to approve consent calendar items 1 through 4, and Commissioner Welker has seconded the motion. The vote, Commissioner Alvarado. Vice Chair Benninger.
Yes.
Commissioner Greensides.
Yes.
Commissioner Romero.
Yes.
Commissioner Welker.
Yes.
The motion passes 5-0. You can proceed.
Very good. Moving on to the business calendar. Item 5 is residential parking and program survey update. Zed, I think you're leading this one, are you, sir? There he is. I'm over here. You're kind of still. I didn't hear any movement.
Yeah, I have stealth mode on. How about this? Much better. Good afternoon, ETAC commissioners. My name is Zed Kakula. I'm with the city's traffic engineering section. And let me just start off by saying, I know this commission knows the city's public work agency is currently undergoing a parking study, a citywide parking study. When it comes to parking, there are definitely many differing opinions on this matter, right? Everyone has an opinion when it comes to parking, good, bad, or indifferent. Therefore, we're very aware that one of the key components of this study is obtaining as much public input as possible. And that's the reason I'm here today, to talk about the residential parking program survey, which is one of the key components of this study. So let me just start off by saying there will be several rounds of public outreach opportunities for the community to provide input in terms of the actual parking study itself. Got it. In terms of the outreach actually started before the parking program was implemented in terms of the study. We had staff go out to over 45 different neighborhood associations to ask for input just to start figuring out what are the concerns so that we could start identifying what the scope of that parking study would be and should be. So moving fast forward to today, right now we're currently doing the first round of the public outreach, which is the survey. And that's what I really want to focus on this brief presentation. The residential survey was made available quite recently, on March 24th. It's available online as well as hard copies. The survey itself is being advertised and promoted through the various cities' media channels, including Nixle, Nextdoor, the State of Santa Ana's newsletter, the neighborhood newsletters, as well as ongoing in-person neighborhood meetings. The survey is available in English, Spanish, as well as Vietnamese. And the survey will be available throughout the duration of the parking study. So there is no time frame in terms of, oh, you got to get your survey in today, tomorrow. But we are encouraging everyone, as soon as you hear about it, to please submit your survey. The survey itself has about 19 questions, and those questions were very carefully thought out just to make sure we could get a real good understanding of what are the parking needs, not only, well, I guess not only citywide, but also more focus on specific permit parking districts. The questions are tailor-made to allow us to get to that fine level of detail so that eventually when we do start looking at improvements to the program, the survey is going to be one of those key components to help us make those informed decisions. Since the launch of the survey, which has only been about 2.5 weeks, we have already compiled over 1,200 surveys. These are from the online as well as hard copies that are submitted. And it was kind of interesting because I had a number in there that was a little bit less a couple of days ago, but it's nice to see that, yes, the community is actively pursuing and implementing, or at least providing information on that survey. So that's really nice to see. I'm going to show a video that maybe some of you have already seen, but not all of the commissioners have had the opportunity to see this. This is the citywide parking study promotional video. So if you just give me a quick second here, I do want to run it for you. It's less than a minute, so it should be pretty quick, but I want to share that because it does talk about the survey as well.
Community feedback and upcoming data collection will help determine opportunities to improve the program. So, how can you help? 1. Add our parking lot page and fill out our quick survey. 2. Bookmark the same webpage to stay up to date on upcoming opportunities to participate and provide feedback. Spread the word to your neighbors about the study.
I think hearing it once is enough. So what I want to draw your attention to, this video is also available in the 3 languages, English, Spanish, and Vietnamese. But on this particular slide, and you guys all have a copy of the slide, is a website, all right? So I really do want to draw attention to that website. The next slide shows a capture, or at least a screenshot of what the actual website looks like. This website is specifically for the residential parking study. But if you look at the middle part right here of the screen, that is where we are encouraging everyone to go to this website. All you have to do is click on that link, Spanish, English, or Vietnamese, and it will take you directly to the SurveyMonkey so you could fill out the actual survey. And then the other thing that's not visible here, it's kind of visible here on the very bottom. That video I just showed you is also available on this website in the 3 languages as well. So the final thing, second to the last thing I want to mention is this website, we encourage you to bookmark it, keep an eye on it, because as the study is progressing, we will be providing updates on this website. So if you want to see what's the latest and greatest, feel free to go to this website. The one thing I do want to ask your assistance is to help us with filling out the survey. If you haven't filled it out, please feel free to go to this website, click on that link, fill out the survey. But in addition, if you could reach out to your friends, your family, your neighbors, or even local organizations you may pertain or be part of, ask them and inform them of this survey. It'd be much appreciated. The more information we get, the better outcome we're going to have for this study. So again, this survey is very critical, and your help in helping us promote this is much appreciated. So with that, if you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them.
Commissioner Walker, any questions?
I started looking at the survey right now, and in where I live, it's a HOA, so it is permitted, but it's not city permitted. And I was wondering how to answer the question about do you live on a permitted block? I put all day because it is permitted there by the HOA. But I guess is that the correct answer I should have put in, or if you live in a private association, do you think this would apply to you?
It wouldn't apply because the private HOA is actually very separate. You have your own rules, policies, and regulations, and even the enforcement side of things. You would have your own enforcement. So that's a little bit of a very specific situation.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Commissioner Greenside's here. I have a question about, is there a map available of current permitted parking districts?
Yes, it is available.
Okay. Can that be added to the residential parking study page?
It actually is on a separate page, but we could actually add it to this one, so it's a direct link to that.
Okay. Because one of the things, I like the survey. I filled it out in person last meeting.
Thank you.
And I've been spreading the link to all my friends who I live in my neighborhood. But one of the things just a technical thing, on this web page for the residential parking study is the videos don't display correctly on the phone. Just something that could be looked into, whoever's working on the tech side of things.
Okay.
And then in line with the question about the map, it asks a lot of questions, and like one of the questions is, do you live in a permitted parking? And one of the answers is, I don't know. I myself don't know. I know that there's parking regulations in the Willard neighborhood for sure, but on the street where I live, I'm not sure. And so it'd be helpful if at the end of the survey there was a link to say, if you don't know the answers to any of these questions, or here's a link to the permitted parking page, because I clicked through that page as well, so that people can know more.
Excellent, thank you.
Commissioner Romero, you have any questions?
Hi, Commissioner Romero. Has a study like this been done before, or how long ago was it done?
Are you referring to a parking study?
Yeah,
Never been done in the city, so it's the first time.
all right. And one comment, I'm curious if along with this study you are, or may consider promoting more biking and walking, because I understand people drive, but maybe if there's a few more activities that the city hosts that do encourage the biking and walking as an alternative, as well as, you know, I know that the city's been working on the infrastructure for cyclists, but really trying to reemphasize that throughout the city.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Alvaro, any questions? No. I do. This is a very comprehensive survey, and because parking needs are different depending on what part of the city that you're in. Mine, the only time we have problems is on holidays, so we don't have apartments in the area or things that others do. So let me ask a question this way. When this survey was put together, was that taken into consideration that all different areas have different parking needs?
Yes, actually, it's actually geared up to try to capture as many different unique situations. One unique situation that was brought up today, I don't think we necessarily capture that one, but it was specifically, carefully tailor-made to capture as many options as possible.
And when do you see having the results from this survey?
We have not seen them so far, but I know they're pretty easily to compile. So we will be coming back as we're moving forward to give updates.
Do you know when the deadline is for the survey? When?
No, like I mentioned, right now, we don't necessarily have a fixed deadline. The survey is available to anybody throughout the whole study, but we are encouraging everyone that finds out about it to fill them out as soon as possible.
Besides doing the survey, is there anything that's counting on streets or anything else that you're doing to gather information?
I'm sorry, say that one more time?
Besides the surveys, how else are you gathering information?
The survey is a key thing right now, but going back to the 45 neighborhood meetings, or more than 45, we also had like open dialogue with all the community members. So we have a running list of all the concerns, even prior to the study. So this is just the second component. And there is a lot of effort being made to reach out directly to the communities, to neighborhood associations. So that's the second component. So yeah, right now, it's a lot of information we've been compiling.
Once the survey is completed, permit parking will be reviewed and new plans will come out for that?
Yes, that's the entire intent of this. You know, once we get the survey, there's going to be other data gathering that has to be completed as well. And then we're going to start looking at some of the potential changes, revisions, modifications. Right now, we're estimating about a year away from actually completing it. But again, as this is moving forward, the website will provide updates, and we'll be happy to come back to ETAC as well to provide updates as we're moving forward.
Very good. Any other questions for him? With that, we're all set, and I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Zed.
Moving on to item 6, environmental sanitation roadway cleanup fees. Pedro, you'll be presenting this?
Well, good afternoon. Are we on? Good afternoon. I am Pedro Guillen, the Deputy Public Works Director and Maintenance Services Manager, And today we will be providing you an informational update on the environmental sanitation and roadway cleaning fee, otherwise known as the sanitation fee. So I'll go ahead and get into it, and then we'll have a question and answer session at the end. So please bear with me on during the short presentation. Oh, one. So the sanitation fee, the revenue collected from the sanitation fee is about 1% of the total city budget. Total city budget is about $600 million, and I'll get into the revenue component in the upcoming slides. It provides two services, as mentioned in the title: environmental sanitation, weed abatement, and roadway cleaning, which encompasses street sweeping. The fee covers, specifically the fee provides services for, or funding for services related to illegal dumping, rubbish removal, roadway cleaning of streets and alleys. Street sweeping is a big one. Then sanitation and right-of-way enforcement. As well, weed abatement. So the current monthly rate is $535 per month, and it's billed through the city's utility bill every 2 months. And the bill, you would see it as if you have a single unit, and I'll get into that in a moment. It'll be $1070 per month, and it's assessed to over 90,000 units in the city. And when I say over, because the unit count fluctuates year to year depending on redevelopment and development projects. So it's about 90,000, and the revenue, as I mentioned, is 1% of this total city budget. And right now, it's about $6.25 million per year. So this is your typical utility service bill that you may receive. The one on the left is a single-family residential. The one on the right is a multi-unit development. So a close-up of the top left is a single unit development. There you see the 1070 billed every 2 months for 1 unit. And on the bottom, you see the multi-unit development, which in this case has 204 units, and it's billed accordingly to just over $2,100 every 2 months. So the history of the fee. The fee was established in 1991, and it's been a fixed fee since 1996, meaning it hasn't been increased since 1996. So just remember that. Since 1996, no increase. Also take into account that the fee was reduced in 2017 and 19 with the exclusion or removal of 2 programs and the tree services programs, which were removed and placed into a general fund expenditure. So as a result, the sanitation fee was reduced. And why do we need the adjustment? So I mentioned 1996. 1996 was the last time we increased this fee. So as you can imagine, cost has significantly grown in the past just 2 years alone. So taking into account 26 years of inflation and costs for contractual services, including prevailing wage requirements that we are now obligated to require in our contracts, internal service operations. We have a store basically. The gentlemen who were here earlier, the IT folks charge us, so we have to pay them. They charge more. So those are examples. Finance, fleet, things of that nature, and as well, personnel costs are a major component of this as well. The most significant component is street sweeping. As I mentioned, we require prevailing wage for the majority of our contracts. Just recently, and I'll get into that in the upcoming slides, street sweeping was determined to be prevailing wage required. As well, we want to provide additional services, so that's one of the things that we are evaluating during this process. So let me go back. So as well, we have a very high demand of services. So we have an extremely high amount of sidewalk cleaning services, abandoned property, illegal dumping, enforcement activity, and just general cleanups. And we want to not only provide good services, but improve that. So street sweeping contract, as I mentioned, prevailing wage was just recently required for street sweeping contracts. And in some cases, it basically doubled and tripled the salary of the employee, which obviously is passed on to the cities, the municipal services. And our existing contractor requested that. We thought it was a little too high, so we're determined to get the best price out there. So we advertised a request for proposal, and we're in the middle of the process at this point. An example of the prevailing wage impacts, as you can see, recent prevailing wage contracts that were approved in other cities went to as high as $74 a curb mile. So in our city, we pay $18 a curb mile, and we sweep over 50,000. So just do the math there, it's significantly high. So we have the best rate in the state. I can say that. That was from about 10 years ago. It was one of my original contracts here, and we got a great deal. But yeah, the reality is with prevailing wage and just inflation, that is not sustainable for the vendor. So obviously the cost comes to us. Increased service level demands, 4 years. We went back 4 years, and you can see all the service requests that we are receiving have significantly gone up. That means this is not sustainable for us. We only have 5 employees that are funded, maintenance workers, that are funded through the sanitation fund. It's only 5, 4 maintenance workers and 1 equipment operator doing all this work. So it's not sustainable, and that just gives you a snapshot of the service demands. So the reason for the adjustment, obviously, is because we need to improve services and also be sustainable. The proposed amount of increase will be based on a comprehensive cost of service study and evaluation, and we would do that over a 10-year period going forward. The study will be conducted by a professional rate consultant and will be in compliance with all state laws, including Proposition 218, which determines how fees are increased in this state. So the next steps, we've already presented, Nabil actually presented, our director, Saba presented to the city council a month ago. We got some direction there, and obviously we're presenting it here. We're also in the process of, in the procurement process for the street sweeping request for proposal, as I mentioned, and we're also in the process of hiring a rate consultant, and that should be approved fairly soon. Obviously, as I mentioned, we need to follow all state laws, including Proposition 218. We'll complete the rate study, propose the new rates, and we would propose new rates at a 5-year increment. We will go back to council, obviously, and then start our 45-day public hearing process, and then hold a public hearing to adopt the new rates. Our goal is to implement these rates January of next year. So it's a little aggressive, but we need it. We're at that point, especially with the inflation, extremely high inflation in the last couple of years. So with that is a presentation. I'm available for questions. Thank you.
Commissioner Welker?
Commissioner Walker, for the current street sweeping vendor, is their contract expired, or are you going to RFP because they are demanding the rate increase?
Thank you for the question. So their contract is on its last year. So, but at the same time, it's prudent for us to get the rate as soon as possible, the market rate, now that prevailing wage has been required, basically.
And for the consultant, is that also going to be an RFP, or will that be more of a sole source bid?
It is an RFP right now that we're evaluating vendors, or proposers, I should say. Yes.
Thank you.
Mr. Greenside?
Yes, I have a couple of questions. So is there data available as you're going through this process that can be made available regarding where in the city a lot of the requests are coming from?
The method that we track all the information, as you recall, I gave a presentation on the city app about a year ago. That's where we have all the information. So we can provide statistics and things of that nature, analytics, general area maps of all the work that's being provided. So everything is documented and it's true. Yeah.
Sure, I don't know the veracity. It's just, I think it'd be good to have that information made available and for us to look critically at where these requests are happening. And because these services are so crucial to everybody in the city, I'd like to know exactly what neighborhoods are seeing high levels of service and what parts of the city are not seeing that, especially, for example, in Ward 5, where sometimes a lot of residents are not seeing that reflected on the streets. And things are getting better, absolutely. On the roadway with the street sweeping, specifically. People complain about stuff they're getting flat tires in their bikes and their cars. And then, sometimes along the, where the new streetcar is going to be in Artesia Pilar, there used to be a lot less action taken, a lot less reporting. So just wanted to, see the statistics, see the map, see where things are taking place as a part of the information gathering process to make sure that all residents are seeing that reflected in their streets.
Absolutely. We could work with IT, who actually manages the app, and we can see how we can better provide public information on that. Basically, it's a mapping system and provides all the requested totals, and it can do data search and things like that. So thank you.
Thank you. And then, real quick, I really appreciate the data that you have made available so far, and I'm excited to see that we're going to be bringing things up to a prevailing wage for those who will be doing the dirty work that not all of us might see on a daily basis. That's my final comment. Thank you.
Commissioner Rivera?
No comments.
Commissioner Alvaro?
Commissioner Alvarado, and just a couple questions and comments on the one of the comparisons to the city was Palo Alto. I don't think Santa Ana has ever been compared to Palo Alto in anything. So, is there other cities that are similar to us with the rates and what they do now? That's one question. Second question would be, after we do the survey and the study, let's say if it happens, whatever the rate increase is going to be, are we going to have a contractor that's going to be able to fulfill that rate? Let's say they come back, and because we are low and they come back with a low increase, is there going to be a contractor willing to go that low, right?
Sure. Unfortunately, Palo Alto was the most recent example of prevailing wage contract. Just recently, I want to say about 6 months ago, a court ruling came out and said that we have to, or municipalities like us, need to pay prevailing wage, and therefore we are taking action right now to solicit for street sweeping services to see where we at in terms of prevailing wage and curb miles cost. So we're going to be getting that information. And we can't, so $18 a curb mile is unsustainable for the current provider right now. So we expect the rate to come higher, and not possibly as high as Palo Alto, but it will be higher because of the prevailing wage requirement. We'll see how these numbers come in once we evaluate the RFPs that are coming in from the street sweeping contractors that we're going to.
If I can add,
Go ahead.
Director Saba, pre-prevailing wage, the average curb mile rate was in the high 30s. So we had the cheapest rate in the state. Prevailing wage now kicking in, resulted in these rates. And these are as Nabil mentioned, these are the most recent approved contracts in the state. So cities are still trying to figure it out, right? So these just are the ones that are available publicly right now.
Is there a plan with the new prevailing wage? Is it going to be the same amount of employees, or will we be able to hire more employees?
So the contractor will provide the vehicles as determined based on the need, right? So we are, as I mentioned, requesting additional service and miles. We want to increase the service. As I mentioned, we sweep about 50,000, 55,000 curb miles per year. We'd like to increase that by at least 20,000. So the contractor has to formulate his plan, present it to us, and then we would evaluate that.
I apologize. I think I asked it the wrong way. The increase in services, you mentioned there was about 4 or 5 employees that handled some of the other stuff aside from the street sweeping.
Right.
So with the increase, including the prevailing wage, whatever else we increase, is that going to be a wages increase on the existing, or is it going to be a bigger team?
I expect to be both, where we want to staff more And keep in mind that this presentation is not about street sweeping alone, but it's the sanitation fund itself. So the consultant will be looking at the service required for us, including street sweeping, which is the 20,000 curb miles that we're adding for that contract, but also to do a better job cleaning the city and have the staff that is capable of maintaining clean city, whether it's in-house staff or contract staff. So we're looking at both options, and the consultant will help us decide which way we will go. If it is staffing, then those five individuals will probably, the staffing will double to 10, become 10 new city employees, or we could select the option to contract some of that service out to do more street sweeping, curb and sidewalk and just cleaning, roadway cleaning. So we are going to look at both options, and the consultant will give us the cost for doing both options. But again, like I mentioned, the street sweeping is one portion of the sanitation fee, which we do more. Like Pedro mentioned, there is also enforcement. There is inspectors that are being paid by, I hope, by the fund itself. So we're looking at the entire operation here and make it better, because adding 20,000 miles, curb miles, is one thing, but there is a need. I don't know if you guys, this Monday was incredible after the holiday, after the Easter weekend. You drive the city and you said, hey, what happened? We were good. So there is a lot of needs, and the solid waste contract had additional services that we added. That is in effect right now, and I know Pedro's group is trying to add even more. The demands on the city is huge, and we're trying to staff up. But again, to answer your questions, we're going to look at both options.
Once the study is completed, is that something that will be represented to us, or is it going to go straight to the city council?
We will make sure to bring it to you before we take it to council.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
This is Vice Chair Benninger. I know what you mean about this weekend, because in my peaceful neighborhood, 2 tires and a chair show up in the corner with the word "free" on it. And to go back, explain on the new waste contract. Isn't they supposed to be doing some pickup of illegally dumped items?
And they are, and just the demands in the city is so incredible, Carl, Commissioner or Vice Chair. They're doing we've added almost 9,000 man-hours through the Republic contract to do more and trash collection, pressure washing. That's actually, pressure washing is coming January of this year, of next year coming up, because some of the services are being phased. So sidewalk cleaning is in effect right now. We've added the right-of-way trash collection. If you've seen them, the trash bins that are all around the arterials right now and in the neighborhood. So that's additional service that we have. We have added more services for the alley cleanups, and some others that we have. And there is even more, like I mentioned, the pressure washing of sidewalk is coming. And the porter service, we also have porter service coming in January of, I believe, next year. So we're adding gradually to the services, but again, I know Pedro wants to add more, and it's just, it's a lot of work, but we're trying to capture all that from any side that we can and fund it in any which way we can.
I'm just really surprised at how it increased between 2019 and 2020. I know that's the starting of the pandemic. Was there any reason that you feel why the illegal dumping's gone so high in the city?
Well, that's the same question we had. Our service demand requests skyrocketed. We were always here. We never worked from home. We were always here because of this. I think it was just people were close to home and they just reported more. I mean, it was significant, and it still is, and it has not dipped down. Part of it was also the marketing of our city app. We went, as you recall, I've done a presentation here about a few times, and the number just keeps going and going. It's much more convenient than calling in. and those numbers made it that much easier to report service requests. So the numbers are not going down. As was mentioned, we are the 10th largest city, and we're one of the most dense cities in the country. And we are busy every day, 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. We have call-out service as well. So we're extremely busy. I mentioned we have 5 field staff and 2 inspectors doing all of this. It's not sustainable, so we need some help. Our goal is to provide better service to the public. That's why we're here, and to get the best price for all of our service.
Well, that's why I see a little dip between 2022 and 2021. Hopefully it continues coming down.
That means the city's cleaner.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
So that's what we want.
And hopefully I'll keep coming down. One last question I'm going to have.
Sure.
And this is a dirty question, but have you considered taking street cleaning in-house again?
I want to say a few years ago, it was in-house. And so management at that time decided to outsource that, and we did that. In fact, Pedro did some analysis, and that was one of the requested items that when I did my presentation to council, they actually asked me, what if we bring it in-house? The math that shows right now is we will not gain. The first year would cost the city about $12 million to bring in the equipment and do the staffing. And then on an ongoing basis, it's no less than $5 million a year in and year out, to sustain and operate the street sweeping, which is almost equal to if we bid it out and had a private contractor do it. I'd love to add more staff, but I think this is a contract that is prime for contracting out and managing it that way, and make it where every so often the city can decides to bring it in-house or keep it on contract every 5 years or so. So the new contract will be, I'm guessing, 5-year period, and then we can evaluate those options on an ongoing basis every 5 years to bring it back in-house. But right now, I think the math is almost the same, except for year number 1, where we have to come up with a minimum of $12 million to buy the equipment and do the staffing. And it's kind of, it's difficult to phase it from being on contract versus to bring it in-house. I'm not saying it's difficult, but it can be done. But you need to start, bringing in the equipment, the staffing, and the hiring, and then phase out the contracts. So, you have to, because if I don't sweep one week, I get calls. So, we can't afford not to sweep.
I don't know what it takes to be a driver of one of those sweepers. What kind of driver's license you need? And I've assumed that when we went to contract, we got rid of all the equipment that we had at that time?
Yes, we did.
Any other questions? Very good. Thank you, Pedro, for your presentation. Sure. Go ahead. Okay, any comments or updates from the staff?
Sure, Vice Chair. Nabil Saba, Director of Public Works. I would like to let the Commission know that on April 29th, the City Public Works Maintenance Services Division will celebrate National Arbor Day in conjunction with the Santa Ana Public Library. Help me out here. Dia de los Niños event. Thank you. It is a family-friendly event which will highlight the importance of children, family, and literacy. The event festivities will include a community resource fair, distribution of tree spellings, and educational tree presentations. I would like to let you know about this event and more welcome you to come and attend, drop by. It is from 10:30 to 2 o'clock next to the main library here in the Plaza of the Sun. Activities will include community resources fair, tree samplings, giveaways, educational workshop, and celebration of Tree City USA for 24 years for the city of Santa Ana. And that concludes my comments. Thank you.
What's the time on that event?
The time is from 10:30 to 2 o'clock on April the 29th. And that's a Saturday, yes, here at the main library. Well, here next to the Plaza of the Sun.
Novell also, I just had some slide to me, ice cream social, do you want to?
Yes, I don't have that handout, but as we'd like to invite you to come and share with us in celebration of Public Works Week, to come and have some refreshment. We'd love to see you there.
I don't see any pistachio on there, but I'm sure you have it. Thank you. Looking for commissioners' comments. Commissioner Welker?
This was from I think a couple meetings ago. We discussed maybe inviting the Hispanic Chamber to have a representative on ETAC. I have a phone number and an email for the representative I usually reach out to. Her name is Edna Ruiz, R-U-I-Z, and her email is Ruiz, R-U-I-Z, at ochcc.com.
Thank you.
Is that OCH like in hello? CC? Thank you.
Thank you for that information, because we've been looking for a contact for a while, so we appreciate that. Commissioner Greenside?
Yes, thank you. Just want to remind everybody that Earth Day is coming up on April 22nd. So, I mean, every day should be Earth Day. Everybody should be grateful for the Earth that we do have. Give thanks for all that we can while we still have it. Thank you.
Hello, Commissioner Romero. Does the city have anything planned for Bike Month in May? It's next month.
We don't have a plan for it.
Because last year the city proclaimed May as Bike Month, and I'm curious if there's any thoughts or like desires to host an open street event in the future, if possibly next year or the following year there could be a collaboration with different community partners to host an open streets event. I think that'd really bring out, people to bike and walk versus drive. You obviously know what open streets events are, but I think that'd be an amazing thing to bring into Santa Ana.
Of course, yes, we are very interested in it. We can probably talk offline about the details and do a proclamation. You mentioned the proclamation of Bike Month. Is it too late to do one right now?
Santa Ana Active Streets is going to do a bike ride in May, but as far as hosting an open streets event, I think it's not enough time to plan one.
Do you know if your council members are going to propose that for the city, recognizing May as a bike month? Because she could do that.
We'd have to talk to them, but it was proclaimed last year.
I'd just like to add that a couple of years ago, this is Vice President Carl Benninger, when Dave Cavazos was city manager, he actually had a ride to work day, started at the train station. We all met down there with our bikes and then came to City Hall. And that was a very nice event. And that, come to think of it, it was during the month of May, and maybe that was the reason.
Yeah, the League of American Cyclists website has a lot of ideas for Bike Month that they do encourage. That one of the activities is ride to work or ride for a date, things like that. You could promote that next year.
Yeah, absolutely. We are open to any of the suggestions. I welcome that. So let's work on the details if you don't mind. Awesome.
Yeah, this is Vice Chair Carl Benninger. I was on the Vision Zero, meeting today, and the consultant did a very good presentation about what's being proposed at Standard and McFadden, and the reason for the, all the work there that's going to improve both bike transportation as well as pedestrian. And they have a little 5-minute clip on there that I would really recommend we bring to this group, ETAC, and the council, because it gave a good explanation as to what we're trying to do in the city as far as to get more comfortable with bikes. Because the major concern I hear from my old friends is besides knees and things of that nature, but being safe on a bike. And the little 5-minute presentation presents what's being proposed at Standard in McFadden is how they're going to attack that. Because I really think that is the key to getting people riding bikes again, is make them feel safe on it. The town I lived in Midland, Michigan, had a lot of bike riders. But again, it was only a town of 35,000. At night, there wasn't that much traffic on the streets that you could easily go. And it was just a pleasant, I have very pleasant memories of summer and spring and fall, riding bikes with the kids and being safe at it. So I think it's really key. Feel safe and get more people riding bikes on it. Okay. All right. Any other comments that we may have? If not, we'll go ahead and close this meeting, and our next ETAC meeting will be on May 9th at 4 p.m. in this room. And so we'll go ahead and close this meeting on April 11th at 4:53. Thank you.